ब्रह्मादिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहितः दिभ्यो ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो वंश ऋषिभ्यो महद्भ्यो नमो गुरुभ्यः सर्वोपप्लवरहितः ब्रह्मविद्या संप्रदाय कर्तृभ्यो प्रज्ञानघनः प्रत्यगर्थो ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ब्रह्मैवाहमस्मि ओम्। वेदान्तार्थविभासकाय गुरवे शान्ताय सन्न्यासिने नानावादी नगेन्द्रसङ्घपवये योगीन्द्रवन्द्याय च मोहध्वान्तदिवाकराय भगवत्पादाभिधां बिभ्रते तस्मै भाष्यकृते नमोऽस्तु सततं पूर्णाय बोधात्मने ओम्। As a result of a person giving himself to the practice of karma yoga, his intellect becomes purified. Now, once when the intelligence is purified, this intelligence will be able to see the reality. And not only that it will be able to see the reality, but it will also never distort the reality. Because reality we all see. It is not that the reality is hidden from us. We all see it and yet fail to see it. Bhagavan Shri Krishna says it in a very interesting manner in Bhagavad Gita. And he says, Yak pashyati sapashyati. He who sees alone sees. It is seen by all of us. The reality is seen. And yet, we still remain untouched by it. Because the vision of reality has the capacity to transform the psychology totally and completely. Presently, the center around which the psychology keeps revolving is the psychology of individuality, where the self, this I, is considered to be a small little individual, and because of which then there is insecurity, there is search for pleasure, there is, so therefore now he is a pleasure hunter, insecure, small little entity, filled with guilt, ambition, self-praise or self-condemnation, whatever it may be. Now all these things simply get washed away because the vision is this I is Brahman. And because this the self is timeless, limitless, there is nothing the time cannot threaten, and therefore there is no insecurity because of anything involving time. Because the self is all and everything, therefore nothing can ever be lost. And therefore, there is no fear of losing. There is no fear of loss. Because the self is akarta, abhokta. Therefore, there is neither any ambition, hankering for any pleasant experiences, or even the guilt feeling of having missed something, or the pride of having experienced something extraordinary than rest of them. No, nothing. So now this is the transformation. Every form of complex is resolved, is dissolved. And therefore now this transformation is only the result of seeing, of knowing the self as Brahman. So therefore, now when the intellect is purified, it does not distort the reality. And hence, even before the knowledge of the self as Brahman takes place, there is something still more at an empirical level which takes place, and that is now the person will be able to see even the shortcomings of all those things which he once praised and was infatuated with. Because unless and until we are able to see both the sides of the coin, we will not be able to evaluate and understand and overcome the infatuation. And thus, therefore, now Bhagavan Shri Krishna has said in the earlier shloka that he who has thus purified his intelligence through the practice of Karma Yoga now has a stable buddhi. The intelligence has become stable, clear, and is able to settle into the vision of reality. Such intellect, such intelligence now will not be, because this is knowledge, will not become shaky, will not be unstable, unsteady. And therefore, Bhagavan Shri Krishna has said over here, which is explained by Madhusudan Saraswati in his commentary. He says, Nishtala, the buddhi becomes Nishtala. Nishtala means Chalana Rahita. Now, from whom the tremors have gone away, the intellect from which the tremors, the movement has gone away, is Nishtala. Now, what exactly is conveyed by that word Nishtala, free from any tremors, free from instability? What does that mean? And so, Madhusudan Saraswati, following Bhagavan Shankaracharya, he writes, Nishtala means asambhavana viparita bhavana rahita. The buddhi becomes free from asambhavana, the impossibility. Now, even when we listen to this, that Atma is Brahman, some may accept it. For some, it becomes a little difficult. How can this Atma be Brahman? How can this I be Brahman? You can at the most say that I am a person, a wretched person at this moment. And I may become little more peaceful, loving, better person after some time. So there is a change in me, and that change is a change for better. But so the person has changed, but you are saying this I is not at all a person, is not this body mind complex at all, is not the karta bhokta. You are saying this Atma is Brahman, I am Brahman. So this looks impossible, and he calls this as a concept. The moment one says this is a concept, it means somewhere now he has cast that knowledge into the category of some sort of impossibility. It is a nice speculation, but nothing more than that. So what has he done to himself? He is he has called it as that knowledge as an impossibility, asambhavana. Now knowledge which is fret with this impossibility. So you are saying whatever I have known is impossible. Knowledge fret with impossibility means whatever I have known is really impossible. The Upanishad says, Bhagavad Gita says, Atma is Brahman, but that is not possible. At the most, what is possible? That I can become a good sadhaka, a good aspirant. And what is the meaning of good aspirant better than others? That's all we mean. That I'm more advanced than you know, you are juniors. You still have to come to my level. I am a better sadhak. You say whatever you have to, but in different words, what have you said? I am not Brahman. You see, you think that is your glorification when you are saying, I am a better sadhak than the rest of you. I'm able to meditate better. You know, my guru has given me the special grace. You people have yet not. So you are little, juniors. Stay there. Holier than rest. Whatever you may say, and no matter even if others also acknowledge you to be, some a celestial being, Yaksha, Gandharva, Kinnara, whatever they may have to say, yet in different words you have said, I am not Brahman. And I am not Brahman means I am miserable. Thus, from where have you brought this suffering? Just with that insistence of wanting to call yourself as a better, greater, higher, superior. You have kya mol liya? What have you purchased in return? Is only dukkham. Denial is this denial of Atma is Brahman is called as asambhavana. Is asambhavana. And this asambhavana, Madhusudana Saraswati says, is the tremor. This is the tremor. So through the intense, sincere, earnest practice of karma yoga, now the person, that the intellect naturally becomes purified. And such purified intelligence, when is able to have the knowledge, when the teacher says Atma is Brahman, now that intelligence immediately becomes the receptacle and without any tremors settles in that knowledge. So thus the buddhi becomes nischala, asambhavana rahita, viparita bhavana rahita. Then Bhagavan Shri Krishna also used the word achala. Now, achala, nischala, we have discussed that looks like the same thing. Only what is different over here in both the words is the prefix ni and a. Nischala and achala. There are two prefixes. Now, achala means also not moving. Chalanam is movement, some sort of movement, and chalanam. Achalanam means without any movement, steady. It gives the idea of steadiness. So now, how does this knowledge become steady? In the sense, the intelligence now is able to settle into that knowledge that Atma is Brahman, without creating any doubts or without having any asambhavana, impossibility, etc. So explaining the word and the prayojanam, the purpose of using achala. Second time, first time he has used, Bhagavan Krishna uses the word nischala. Then he emphasizes it by using the word achala. And in that achala, here, Madhusudana Saraswati says, Dirghakala Nairantarya Satkara Sevanaihi Vijatniya Pratyaya Adushita. He says that achala, Shri Krishna silently is allowing you to understand a very a secret of the Yoga Shastra. And what is that? Dirghakala. Now, when a person has practiced something for long time, Dirghakala, Adar, with reverence and without any interruptions, Nairantarya, Satkara Sevanaihi, Adara and Satkara Sevanaihi. Now, such knowledge has become free from any Vijatiya Vritti, which means the flow of the mind is there, the flow of the thoughts is there, but in that flow is of homogeneous thought processes. Vijatiya pratyaya. Now, aham brahma, aham brahma, aham brahma, aham brahma. This Atma is Brahman, is Purnam. The time, space, objects, all are only seen in this self. That self I am. Aham. Now, when there is that aham, vritti pravaha, it is not interrupted by another thought. Oh, well, then, but I have done enough meditation. So now I have done enough meditation means that you are saying I is the doer, interrupted, vijatiya. Such things do not come. And therefore, vijatiya pratyaya adushita is not polluted by something that is vijatiya, external to it. And this idea, how has it come? Through long time, dirghakala, adar means with reverence, respect, and then nairantarya. Nairantarya means without any gap, without any interruption. And satkara means with great uh, 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 reverence. This is respect. Adar. Okay. This practice now has allowed that mind to become achala, the buddhi to be achala. So this is when using the word achala, this is the idea. When he uses the word nischala, the idea is asambhavana viparita bhavana rahita. Thus now the stability is like this, which means where there is no asambhavana viparita bhavana, and there is not even any vijatiya pratyaya. Two types of stability now he conveys to us. So, vijatiya bhavana rahita, vijatiya pratyaya rahita. Okay, now this mind has become stable in that knowledge. Thus, stability of the intelligence is spoken by Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And this is the Prajna Sthiryam. This is the stability of Prajna. Prajna, if you look at the Yoga Shastra, you will understand that this Prajna is just not ordinary intelligence. This Prajna is an intelligence which is born naturally as a result of mind staying in samadhi for a long time. Huh. When the mind stays absorbed, calm, and collected, such mind now becomes enlightened mind. Prajna. Intelligence becomes enlightened intelligence. You know, just imagine that you are able to take a dip in a pond of rose water. And when you emerge out of from that pond, will you not be carrying the fragrance all on your body? Exactly like that. This intelligence which now stays immersed in in that peace, in that joy of samadhi, when with it comes out with that brilliance, the joy, the peace radiating. And therefore, when the people of this world also come in touch with such a person, he is able to show them the way, he is able to enlighten them, because now that mind is already carrying the light that is discovered inside. It has bathed in the pond of light. So that prajna is there. And this prajna, not only that it is a flash of a lightning, but it is sthira prajna. How is it? Stable, always available. It is not some epiphany, or it is not just, a flash which comes and goes. No, it is not something like that. But it is what? The stable prajna. And so such a yogi who thus has purified himself through the karma yoga now becomes jivan mukta. Huh? Can become jivan mukta. That is the idea. And this word jivan mukti, though I'm using, which means liberated whilst living, but the idea of jivan mukti is discussed as the stability of this prajna, of that intelligence which is enlightened. Okay. Sthira prajna. So the person who has such intelligence will be called as sthita prajna. He will be called as sthita prajna, the one whose intelligence is, or the prajna is stable. And that stability, do not forget, it means asambhavana viparita bhavana rahita and vijatiya pratyaya rahita. It is devoid of these two things. That is what is meant by that sthiryam, achalanam, nishchalanam. Okay? Achala and nishchala. Evam labdhavasaraha sthita prajna lakshanam jnatum Arjuna uvacha. And therefore now Arjuna is curious to know what are the distinguishing characteristics of the jivan mukta, meaning the one who is sthita prajna. Labdhavasaraha. How is Arjun? Now he has found an opportunity to know how this jivan mukta is. And therefore Arjuna questions Bhagavan Shri Krishna in the 54th verse. Let us read the verse, recite the verse, and look at its content to proceed. Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna Uvacha, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha, Sthita Prajnasya ka bhasha, Samadhisthasya Keshava, Samadhisthasya Keshava, Sthitadhi kim prabhasheta, Sthitadhi kim prabhasheta, kim asita vrajeta kim asita vrajeta kim. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. Ka bhasha means ka paribhasha. What is the definition of a sthita prajna? You have told us that the one whose prajna has become stable, the one whose intelligence, and this intelligence is not, the IQ, EQ we are talking about, but this is that enlightened intelligence. The one whose enlightened intelligence is not enlightened only for a flash of a moment. In the class, when it is being explained that Atma is Brahman, yes, Atma is Brahman. And then, even before the class ends, I am a wretched Jiva. No, sir. Sthita prajna, ka bhasha. So, what is the definition? How is this sthita prajna defined? How is the sthita prajna, the man of steady wisdom, how is he defined? Ka bhasha. Ka bhasha means not that what language does he speak. Does he speak Indian language, non-Indian language, or only he speaks in Sanskrit? Ka bhasha means ka paribhasha. What is his definition? How is he defined? Samadhisthasya Keshava, the one who is absorbed in samadhi. Because such a Jivan Mukta, we may discover him in a state of absorption or in a state of empirical transactions. We can see him even if it is a teacher answering the questions and doubts of the disciples. He is engaged in a transaction, and engaging in the transaction every time means rise of the ego and identification with the ego too. Correct? Even to say, to have a simple transaction as I am thirsty, give me water, is a simple transaction. But over here also, one will have to identify with the body, the need of the body, which is water, and also to recognize somebody outside and request a glass of water, which means the whole duality and the world, everything is recognized. You see, is recognized. And therefore, the one who is in transaction is also to be considered. The one who is absorbed and in samadhi, also we need to know his definition. We need to know the definition when he is not in samadhi, but also when he is in transactions with the world. Sthitadhi kim prabhashyeta. What does he speak? Because generally, whenever we speak, we are speaking to convey what we are. You may feel that you are arguing for a point or for some principle, but desperately what you are trying to do is you are trying to make yourself heard, seen, known to the other party, accepted by the other party. That's all. Kim Prabhasheta. So whatever you are speaking only yours, not about yourself, but you are speaking yourself, which means communicating yourself to others. Kim Prabhasheta. What does he speak? What does he speak? We will see a little more clarification about this through Madhusudan Saraswati only. So, Sthitadhi Kim Prabhasheta, Kim Asita, and how does he sit? Hey, sitting means how does he collect himself? How does he collect himself? I have told you the other day I was talking to one of my friends and I was talking about Puja Guruji Swami Tejamananji. And I said that, being the head of a mission and such a big organization, there are, innumerable vivanchana, क्या बोलते हैं, worries. How does Swamiji really stay stable and peaceful and so collected? So somebody actually had asked Swamiji this question. Guruji, how do you do that? And that, whom do you look at? And Guruji said, ocean seeks its own depth. A very profound statement. An ocean seeks its own depth. You imagine all the cyclones, storms, rain, tremendously big waves rising and falling. There is all sort of disturbance on the surface of the ocean. Now, if the ocean wants little peace, where should the ocean go? Because wherever it goes, there is going to be, the surface is going to be very disturbed. That time, the ocean seeks its own depth. Let the ocean see that in the deepest part of it, it is unmoved. The peace of those millions of years is still there. Is still there. So ocean seeks its own depth. One will plunge it himself. Kimasita. How does he collect himself? Is a question. Because we also get scattered. And for us to collect ourselves back is such a difficult thing. How does he collect? Because he also seems to be living right in the same world as you and me. He also has to face man, apman, insult and, praise, censure and praise, success and failure, hunger and thirst. He also has to sickness and health. He also has to face. But how does he face it? And when facing, how does he collect himself back? This is the question in asking how does he sit. How does he sit is not whether he sits in Padmasana, Siddhasana, or some Mayurasana, what asana. No, it means Kimasita, Vrajeta Kim. And even when it now comes for him to transact with the world, how does he conduct his transactions? How does he even go out, identifies with the body and senses, and conduct the transaction? So now you see How many questions are there? There are 4 questions. There are these 4 questions. First one is, what is the definition of this Sthita Prajna? The one who is absorbed in Samadhi. Then how to define the Sthita Prajna who is not in Samadhi but very much in transactions with the world? How to define such a Sthita Prajna who is in the transactions with the world? And how is that? Kim Prabhasheta, what does he speak and what does he communicate? Because every time we communicate, we only communicate how incomplete we are. How does he communicate? What does he communicate? Kimasita, how does he collect himself back? And how does he even interact with the world? Please tell me this. So this is Arjuna's question. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. Now let us look at it. Look at the same verse with little more details. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. Sthita nishchala. Now we have come to understand sthira. Sthita means sthira. The one which is the intelligence which is sthiram. Sthiram means steady, not shaky, not moving. Sthiram, sthira, nishchala. What is that steady intelligence? Aham brahmasmiti prajnayasya. The one whose prajna is, what is that? That intelligence now which is able to understand Atma is Brahman. Aham brahmaiti prajna. It remains steady. Does not become dull at any moment, whether it is day or night, whether it is the circumstances are conducive or not conducive. No matter whatever are the circumstances, whether the health is good or the health one is falling sick and there is in tremendous pain, whatever it may be, but that intelligence, that aham brahma, that atma is Brahman, remains stable. Okay. Sthita prajna avasthadvayavan. And he is with these 2 states, the state of absorption and the state of transaction. In both the states, what is the paribhasha? How is he to be defined? Okay. Samadhisthasya sthira prajnasya ka bhasha. Bhasha means bhashyate anaya iti bhasha. The one who is defined by that. So defined by what? Only the definition will define a person. So, or whatever, any object. So bhashyate anaya iti bhasha lakshanam. So it means now he is asking for the lakshana. The lakshanas. Lakshanam means you understand the distinguishing characteristic, which means that this characteristic has to belong only to this Sthita Prajna. It cannot go anywhere else. If it goes into any other person other than the Sthita Prajna, then it will become Ativyapti. And if you define the Sthita Prajna, but somehow some Sthita Prajna is left out of that definition, then such a definition will be a lame, incomplete definition. and therefore it will be avyapti. So avyapti dosha, ativyapti dosha, and asambhavana dosha, it should be free from all the three shortcomings. And therefore, that now this definition, such a definition is called as lakshanam. So paribhasha bhashyate anaya iti bhasha lakshanam. So Arjuna is asking, what is the distinguishing characteristic of a sthita prajna? Whether it is the sthita prajna who is absorbed in samadhi, or it is a sthita prajna who is involved in the transactions, yet the prajna is sthira. In both the cases, the prajna, that intellect is, that intelligence is stable, and therefore sthita prajna. Samadhistha sthita prajna kena lakshanena anyaihi vyavariyate ityarthaha. How is he known by others? How do others know what is sthita prajna? Because that aham brahma, he will, that is a knowledge which is in himself. But others, how will they know him? For others also, he becomes something that is amazing, uncommon. For other people to be knocked down by the circumstances, to be knocked down by our health, to be knocked down by, experiences of joys and sorrows is natural. But here is someone who does not get knocked down, one who does not get crushed by anxiety, worry, guilt, pride, ambition, and therefore such a person is indeed a wonderment, something that is wonderful, uncommon. So he is asking, lakshanena anyaihi katham vyavariyate, how is he known by others? Such a vyuthita chittaha sthitadhihi sthitaprajnaha swayam kim prabhasheta. Now, so also that the one whose intelligence is now stable in the sense, since it is knowledge which is not shaky, that intelligence is also called as stable intelligence. So over there, how does he, what does he speak and what does he communicate to the world? Stuti nindadau, stuti nindadau, abhinandana dveshadi lakshanam kim katham prabhasheta. And when praise comes to him, does he get swollen up? And when the ninda, censure comes to him, does he become desperate and what do they call, despicable? Does he think himself to be despicable, something in distress, etc.? No. How and how does he therefore stuti nindadau abhinandana dveshadi lakshanam kim katham prabhasheta? How does he respond? What is his response to all such situations? Kim katham prabhasheta tatha kim asita. So also there is another question. How does he sit? Which means vyuthita chitta nigrahaya katham bahirindriyanam nigraham karoti. Even if the mind once in a while gets disturbed, how is he able to bring that mind to become peaceful, to become calm? What does he do? Vyuthita chitta nigrahaya katham bahirindriyanam nigraham karoti. And say, suppose tan nigraha bhavecha kim vrajet katham vishayan prapnoti. And even if now he allows the mind to go and transact in the world, thus when the mind is transacting with the world, it becomes available to experiences of the world. How does he deal with those experiences? Katham vishayan prapnoti. Huh? Or like we people, he also see, when he sees something, the mouth salivates, and then he chases after that. Oh, well, that particular shop that I have seen, the food was so delicious the other day. At this time, I'm going to stop at that and eat something before going ahead. Done. So is he also like that? Vishayan prapnoti, huh? Like mudajanas, like full rest of the people. Iti tadevam chatvar prashnaha samadhisthe sthita prajne ekaha vyuthite sthita prajne trayaha iti. So Madhusudan Saraswati ji says, now there are 4 questions, out of which one is regarding this Jivan Mukta who is in state of Samadhi. The rest of the 3 are about the Jivan Mukta who is in a state of transactions with the world. So we have these 4 questions, and these 4 questions are answered by Bhagavan Shri Krishna till the end of this chapter. Let us look at the next shloka, which Bhagavan Shri Krishna gives his answer, where he delivers the answer. We will simply read this shloka and stop for the day over here. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Shri Bhagavan Vacha, Prajahati Yada Kaman, Prajahati Yada Kaman, Sarvan Parthamanogatan, Sarvan Parthamanogatan, Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha, Atmanyevatmana Tushtaha, Sthita Prajnastadochate, Sthita Prajnastadochate. Shri Bhagavan says, the Blessed Lord spoke, Prajahati Yada Kaman, when one gives up, renounces all the desires entering the mind. O Partha, when one gives up all the desires that have entered the mind and is satisfied by himself with himself. Okay, Atmani, what is it? Atmani, Atmana eva tushtaha. And then when one is satisfied in just oneself, does not require any other agency to satisfy him, does not require anything that is external other than aham to discover his satisfaction, contentment, fulfillment, then such intelligence is stira prajna. And the one who has such intelligence is called as sthita prajna. Let us come to this. Now we will look at it with the help of the commentaries when we meet next. Okay. Mahadeva. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Padarayanam सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये